Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're a solo entrepreneur in India and you've got a big idea you're ready to build, then you are in exactly the right place. We are going to break down everything, and I mean everything, you need to know about the one-person company, or the OPC. Let's dive right in.
This is the question every single solo founder asks. You've got the passion, you have the vision, but there's always that worry in the back of your mind, right? How do you go all in on your dream without risking your personal finances? Well, it all boils down to one fundamental choice. And this right here, this is the classic founder's dilemma. On one side, you have the sole proprietorship. It's super easy to start, like you can get going tomorrow, but there's a massive catch. The law sees you and the business as the exact same thing. So if the business racks up debt, your personal assets, we're talking your car, your house, are totally on the line. Then you've got the private limited company, which gives you that protection. But the law requires you to have at least one co-founder. So what's a solo entrepreneur supposed to do?
Well, thankfully, back in 2013, the Companies Act gave us a game-changing answer. It's a structure designed specifically to solve this exact problem. So let's meet the one-person company. So what is an OPC, really? Think of it like this. It's a special type of company that lets one person, just you, create a business that has its own legal identity, completely separate from you as an individual. And that right there is the magic key. It gives you the 100% control of a proprietorship, but with the legal armor of a private company. It's truly the best of both worlds.
And here's the most important part to get your head around. With an OPC, you are the whole shebang. You're the founder, you're the only shareholder, and you're the director. It's all you. This means you don't have to go find a partner just to satisfy some legal requirement. You keep 100% control of your vision, your company, your baby. Okay, so that's the big idea. But what does this structure actually do for you? What are the real, tangible benefits? Let's pop the hood and look at the toolkit an OPC gives you. So the benefits are pretty huge. First and foremost, you get limited liability. The best way to think about this is like a financial shield. If the business has debts, they stop at the business. They can't come after your personal savings or your home. Your company also gets its own legal identity, and your brand name is protected across the country. Plus, it has something called perpetual succession. That just means you name a nominee, and if anything ever happens to you, the company can continue on. Oh, and banks? They tend to see an OPC as way more credible, so getting a business loan is often easier. And the cherry on top? The compliance headaches are a lot smaller than with a full private limited company.
All right, let's say you're sold. The benefits sound great. But how do you actually make it happen? How do you bring your OPC into the world? Let's walk through the registration roadmap. The whole process really breaks down into 4 main steps. First, you need to get a digital signature, or DSC, and a director ID number, or DIN. Second, you have to reserve your company's name to make sure it's unique. Third, you prepare and file all the main paperwork, which is done through a form called Spice Plus. And finally, once everything is checked and approved, you get your official certificate of incorporation. Now, it seems straightforward, right? But hold on, because there's one critical detail you absolutely cannot miss. And I really need to stress this. This part is completely non-negotiable. You can fill out all the forms yourself, but you cannot be the one to submit them. The law demands that every single document be digitally signed and certified by a practicing professional. That means a chartered accountant, a company secretary, or an advocate. So that idea of doing it 100% DIY, it's just not legally possible for that final, crucial step. Okay, let's talk about the thing everyone wants to know. What's this all going to cost? Let's look at the price tag for getting set up and the ongoing duties you'll have every year.
This gives us a really good ballpark figure. First up, you've got your government fees, things like name reservation, stamp duty. That's usually going to start around 2,000 rupees. Then you have the professional fees for the CA or CS who helps you file, which can range anywhere from about 8,000 to 15,000 rupees. And don't forget this part, you also have to budget for your first year's annual compliance, which can be another 8,000 to 10,000 rupees.
And listen, this is super, super important. These annual compliance tasks, we're talking audits, tax returns, filings with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they are mandatory. You have to do them every single year, even if your company earned 0 rupees. Skipping this is not an option. It leads to some really heavy daily penalties. So you've got to be ready for that commitment from day one. Okay, we've covered the what, the how, and the how much. So now we're at the big crossroads. How do you decide if the OPC path is actually the right one for your specific journey? The biggest deciding factor more often than not comes down to one thing: funding. As you can see, an OPC is great if you're looking for bank loans. But if your grand plan involves raising money from VCs or angel investors by selling them a piece of your company, like on Shark Tank, then an OPC is not the right choice. Why? Because investors need to become shareholders, and an OPC, by its very definition, can only have one shareholder: you. Now, let's quickly clear the air on a very common myth that I hear all the time. There used to be this rule that said if your OPC's turnover crossed 2 crore rupees, you were forced to convert it into a private limited company. Well, that rule, it's gone. As of 2021, that restriction has been totally removed. So your OPC can now grow as big as you want it to without any forced conversion, which is just fantastic news for ambitious founders. So let's bring it all home with the final verdict. This table lays it all out, nice and simple. Choose an OPC if you're flying solo, you want that financial shield, and your funding is coming from your own pocket or bank loans. On the other hand, you'll want a private limited company if you have co-founders or plan to bring them on soon, if you need to raise money from investors, or if you want to offer things like employee stock options down the road. At the end of the day, the one-person company gives the solo founder a powerful, professional, and protective structure. It gives your brilliant idea the formal legal identity it truly deserves. So the only real question left is your big idea ready for it?